some people are so spiritually insecure and distorted within themselves that they don't even realize how species have their own process of evolution. They're so distorted and spiritually insecure within themselves, regardless of what race they are. Based on their insecurities, they will use their race as a crutch to justify their behaviors and to try to condemn a different race based on some weird superiority complex. And as they're doing that, they're confining themselves and they're having this subconscious warfare within themselves on how they think the world revolves around them. And as they think the world revolves around them, they will condemn anything in their way that's not likened to them. But that's not how the world works. The predecessors, the original ancient predecessors, they're basing everything off of like a experiment that includes diversity, whether we are aware with the intelligence of that particular notion or not. And as someone within their temporary quote unquote little end quote incarnation within their designated race, which you could over the lifetimes incarnate as the same race or different races based on your, spiritual taste of what you would like to develop. And obviously we all have our different, origin points within that. And within that origin points, there's respective changing points. But within all of that, some people will use their race as a clutch. And as they're doing that, they're kind of spiritually harming themselves because they're condemning everything that's not likened to them. And they're kind of watering down their intelligence to be confused in where they think the whole world revolves around just one thing or one race, when things are functioning in diversity. So if things are functioning in diversity, and I'm not saying any race, it's regardless of the race. I'm saying how spiritual insecurity and distortion and confusion can creep up in any entitlement mindset. And within that entitlement mindset, I'm not saying any race, mind you, within the clarity at this point is it's kind of the clarity at this point, it's kind of it's kind of being it's harmonized, there's a harmony to the clarity pretty much. So within so this is kind of leaning towards trying to end racism, by seeing how beings are using their race as a clutch to justify their behavior. And as they're trying to justify their behavior, they're trying to condemn other races that are not likened to them based on their own spiritual insecurity, superiority complex, however the fuck they got that. And within that, they're limiting themselves with a proper, appropriate, inclusive principle, quote unquote, inclusive principles, end quote, to actually build community collaborations. They're limiting and they're kind of they're limiting themselves, and they're kind of putting themselves in their own box detrimentally on that's not how the world works. We're kind of being in a fluctuation process with diversity, whether we like it or not, regardless of our bias. And if we're putting ourselves away from the diversity, we're kind of feeling ourselves with confusion, and we're cutting ourselves off to other possibilities for our own harmonic growth. But because some people are just there's a unique racism going on pretty much, and that unique racism is it's kind of nurtured by influences. And if those influences aren't checked and recognized, a distorted type of mindset and belief system of quote unquote racism, end quote, could be adopted within the specimen as a psychological program. And let me check my battery. God damn it. 3%. So this is leaning towards racism, and somehow some people that are certain races, I'm not saying any race, they could feel entitled where they feel like they just own shit without any evidence or proof of that. There's just this entitlement factor for some reason, and within that entitlement factor, some of these beings within certain entitlement mindsets, they'll condemn and they'll limit themselves And I'm not saying this is any particular race. I'm talking about this is a program, this is a detrimental program of an entitlement mindset that anybody could be susceptible to, and certain beings that could look beyond the racism, then that would be like a great example of how to transcend it, you know? Because as we're like condemning other things that are not our race, but on the background level we still need them for other operations and functions, then on a subconscious level we're hurting ourselves, because we're trying to condemn something on the background scenes that's helping us do a different function. So if you're trying to condemn and shit on something that's doing a different function for you, what is that doing for you? You're having a subconscious warfare, and you're having spiritual detrimental hygienic practices within yourself, regardless of whatever race you are, or however you're using your race as a clutch to just keep your false illusion of entitlement privileges. Your entitlement privileges is actually a false illusion, because that's not how the world works. The world is working under a basis of like diversity principles. Diversity principles meaning we need other people to do other shit so the world could fucking run as it is. But people with entitlement mindsets, they don't necessarily realize that. So they're gonna be caught up in their confused ass fucking ego, and they're gonna go about their lives and they're gonna justify it, thinking that whatever they're fucking doing to condemn other beings is right and okay somehow in their distorted psychological minds, some fucking how. Because this video right here is to end racism, and I'm not condemning any race. The clarity is harmonic. Somehow the clarity is being brought to a harmony. That's the fucking thing with these explanations. So it's me recognizing how people could adopt a detrimental entitlement mindset, and seeing how they could slickly justify that shit while condemning other shit, while what they condemn, that could be helping them in the background level. This is how to end racism. Thank you.